Okay, stop everything you are doing right now. I want to ask you one simple question, and I want you to really think about it before you answer. When does an empire die? Most people would say, well, it dies when it loses a big war. Or maybe it dies when its economy collapses. Or maybe it dies when another country takes over. And all of those answers are wrong. An empire does not die in one dramatic moment. It does not die on a battlefield. It does not die on the day a stock market crashes. It dies slowly. It dies quietly. And the most important thing, the thing that makes empires so fascinating to study, is this. The empire is usually the last one to know it is dead. Rome did not know it was falling. Britain did not know it was finished until it was already finished. And today, America does not know it is done. But I want to argue today, using game theory, using structural history, using the evidence right in front of us, that the American empire is already dead. The body is still moving, but the empire is gone. Okay, let us begin. First, I need to explain what I mean when I say empire, because most people think of an empire as a country that controls other countries. They think of ancient Rome, the British Empire, the Mongols. And yes, that is partly true. But in the modern world, an empire works differently. A modern empire does not need to put soldiers in every country. It does not need to paint the map one color. A modern empire works through systems. It works through money, through military threat, and through the story it tells the world about itself. So the American empire has three pillars. I want you to remember these three pillars because everything I talk about today connects back to them. Pillar one is the dollar. The US dollar is the currency of the world. Every country needs dollars to buy oil. Every country needs dollars to do international trade. This gives America an extraordinary power. It can print money and the world absorbs it. It can run deficits forever and other countries keep lending it money. The dollar is the foundation of American power. Pillar two is the military. America has the biggest military in the world. It spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. This military creates what we call deterrence, meaning no one wants to challenge America because of what America can do to you. The military enforces the dollar system. It protects the oil routes. It keeps allies in line. Pillar three is the story, and this is the most underrated pillar of all. America tells a story about itself. The story goes like this. America is the defender of freedom. America is the rules-based international order. America is the good guy. And for decades, most of the world believed this story. Even countries that disliked America still participated in the American system because the story made the system feel legitimate. Okay, so those are the three pillars. Dollar, military, story. And what I want to show you today is that all three pillars are collapsing at the same time. And when all three pillars collapse at the same time, that is not a crisis. That is the end. Let me start with the military, because what is happening in Iran right now tells you everything. Now think about this carefully. America has spent, let me give you the number. America spends about 40% of all global military spending. That is almost half of all the money spent on militaries in the entire world. China, which is America's biggest rival, spends about 8%. Russia, which is America's other big rival, spends about 4%. America spends 10 times more than Russia on its military every single year. So you would think, okay, if America is spending this much money, it must be completely unbeatable, right? Nothing can stop it. But what we are seeing in Iran tells a completely different story. And this is what I have been arguing for a long time, and now everyone can see it. Here is the simple version. One Iranian Shahad drone costs $50,000 to make. One American interceptor missile costs between $1 million and $3 million to fire. So every time Iran sends a drone and America tries to shoot it down, America spends 60 times more money than Iran. 60 times. And sometimes the interceptor misses. So you need to fire 2 or 3 interceptors at one single drone. Now Iran is not sending one drone. Iran is sending hundreds, sometimes thousands of drones at the same time, from multiple directions, at multiple targets, overwhelming the defense systems. The result? America is running out of interceptors. The most powerful military in the history of the world is running out of missiles. Let me say that again, because it is extraordinary. America is racing against the clock before it runs out of weapons. And this is not an accident. Iran has been preparing for this exact situation for 25 years. Not months, 25 years. Iran built drones that cost $50,000. Cheap, small, easy to make, easy to hide. Iran built underground missile bases deep inside mountains that America cannot find. Iran built weapons that do not need expensive spare parts or fancy technology. Simple weapons, lots of them, everywhere. And America built the F-35 fighter jet. That took 26 years to develop and cost $100 million each. And Iran shot one down. That is not supposed to happen. America built the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, $13 billion. The entire Iranian military budget for 1 year is $10 billion. The Gerald Ford went into the war theater and had to run away 3 weeks later. This is the military pillar cracking. The weapons that cost the most money are failing against weapons that cost almost nothing. And here is why this happens. Remember what I have said before about the military-industrial complex? The American military is not designed to win wars. It is designed to make money. There is a famous quote from Julian Assange. He said, "The point of American wars is not to win. The point is to have never-ending wars that transfer money from the American taxpayer to a transnational elite." And he was right. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, these companies make billions of dollars whether America wins or loses. In fact, they make more money if the war goes on longer. So nobody inside the system has any reason to actually win. And here is the proof. The day before September 11th, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld, who was the Secretary of Defense at the time, held a press conference. And he said that $2 trillion had gone missing from the Pentagon budget. $2 trillion, gone. Nobody knows where. This was the day before the biggest terrorist attack in American history. The next day, September 11th happened, and everyone forgot about the $2 trillion. Nobody was held accountable. Nobody went to jail. $2 trillion just vanished. That is the American military, the most expensive institution in the history of the world. And it is bleeding money. It is not winning wars. And in Iran, its limitations are being exposed to the entire world in real time. Okay, now let us talk about the dollar, because this is where it gets really interesting. I want to explain something called the petrodollar system, because if you do not understand this, you cannot understand why America is actually in such serious trouble right now. Here is how it works, and I will make it very simple. In 1973, America made a deal with Saudi Arabia. The deal was this: Saudi Arabia would sell its oil only in US dollars, not in euros, not in Chinese yuan, only in dollars. And in exchange, America would protect the Saudi royal family forever. Now, why does this matter? Because the whole world needs oil. Everyone. To drive cars, to run factories, to fly planes, to heat homes. You need oil. And if you need oil, and oil can only be bought with dollars, then you need dollars. Every country on earth needs to hold dollars. This creates permanent global demand for the American currency. And this is the genius of the system. America can print dollars. And because everyone needs dollars, the world absorbs those dollars. America can run huge budget deficits. It can borrow money at very low interest rates. It can fund its enormous military, all because the world needs its currency to buy oil. But now look at what is happening. Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is the narrow waterway through which 20% of the world's oil supply passes. 20% of the entire world's oil. And Iran is now controlling who gets through and who does not. What does this mean for the petrodollar? It means the system is under the most serious challenge it has faced since 1973. Because if Iran can control who gets oil, then Iran is effectively controlling the dollar. Countries that are friendly with Iran can get oil. Countries that are not, they pay more, or they do not get it at all. And here's the thing that nobody is talking about openly. The Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, they are terrified. These countries survive on machines that take salt water from the ocean and turn it into fresh drinking water. These are called desalination plants. Without these plants, millions of people have no water. And guess what? These desalination plants are sitting right there, above ground, and a $50,000 Iranian drone can destroy one of them. And the GCC countries, this is the Gulf Cooperation Council, they invest trillions of dollars in the American stock market. The petrodollar system works like this. GCC sells oil for dollars, gets dollars, invests those dollars into American companies. That investment keeps the American stock market high, keeps American tech companies like Nvidia, Apple, Google worth trillions of dollars. dollars keeps the illusion of American economic strength going. But if the GCC countries are under threat, if their oil facilities are being hit, if their water supplies are in danger, if they start to question whether America can actually protect them, then they stop recycling those petrodollars into American markets. And if that stops, the American stock market does not just go down, it collapses because it is built on a financial structure that depends entirely on Gulf state investment. This is why I say the dollar pillar is cracking, not because China launched a new currency, not because some country decided to drop the dollar, but because the physical infrastructure that makes the petrodollar system work, the oil flowing freely through the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf states stable and investing in America, is now under threat every single day. Okay, now let us talk about the most important pillar, the story. Because here is the thing, even if a country is losing militarily and financially, it can sometimes survive if the story holds, if the world still believes in it, if its allies still trust it, if its own people still believe in it. Is the American story holding? Let me ask you something. What percentage of Americans support this war with Iran? I will tell you, about 40%. That means 60% of Americans do not support this war. Most Americans are against what their own government is doing. And this is not a small thing. This is enormous, because you cannot fight a war, a big, expensive, long war, without the support of your own people. You cannot ask people to die for something they do not believe in. You cannot ask people to pay higher taxes and higher oil prices for a war they think is wrong. And it goes beyond America. Look at Europe. European governments are either silent or quietly supportive of the war. But their own people, the populations of Germany, France, Italy, Spain, they are horrified. They are watching bombing videos. They are watching civilian casualties. And they are asking their governments, why are we supporting this? And then there is the rest of the world. Most of the world, Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, they are watching America bomb a country that most historians would say was not threatening American soil. They are watching the most powerful military in the world launch missiles at a civilization of 90 million people. And they are thinking, this is not the story we were told. America was supposed to be the good guy. America was supposed to defend the rules-based international order. America wrote those rules, and now America is breaking every single one of them. The story is dead, and once the story is dead, the system it supported starts to fall apart. Now, I want to talk about something I find fascinating from the perspective of structural history, because I want to answer a question that I think is really the key question. Why do empires do this? Why do they start wars they cannot win? Why do they keep going even when it is obviously not working? And the answer is something called the trap of hubris. Let me explain what this means. Hubris is a Greek word. It means arrogance. It means thinking you are so strong, so powerful, so special that the normal rules do not apply to you. And every great empire in history has fallen into this trap. Every single one. Look at Athens. Athens was the greatest city-state in ancient Greece, the most advanced democracy in the ancient world, the most powerful navy. And in 415 BCE, Athens decided to invade Sicily. Sicily was far away. It was much bigger than Athens expected. The Athenians were overconfident. They sent their best soldiers, their best ships, and they were completely destroyed. The Sicilian expedition, as historians call it, was the beginning of the end for Athens. Why did they do it? Because they had been so successful. They had defeated Persia. They had built an empire. And that success made them believe they could do anything. That is hubris. Now look at Hitler. Germany conquered Europe in 1940 with extraordinary speed. France fell in 6 weeks. The Netherlands fell in 5 days. It seemed like nothing could stop the German army. And that success made Hitler believe he could invade the Soviet Union. He told his generals it would take 3 months. It took 4 years. And it destroyed Germany. Why did he do it? Hubris. Success bred overconfidence. Overconfidence bred catastrophic miscalculation. And now look at America. America won the Cold War in 1991. Without firing a single shot at the Soviet Union just collapsed. And that success, that extraordinary, unexpected success, planted the seeds of hubris. American strategists started to believe that American power was unlimited, that America could reshape the world in its image, that any country that resisted America would simply crumble. They tried it in Afghanistan, 20 years, trillions of dollars, and America left with nothing. The Taliban were in power the day after America left, exactly as they were the day before America arrived. They tried it in Iraq. The weapons of mass destruction that never existed. The democracy that never came. The country that is now closer to Iran than it is to America. They tried it with Russia. They tried to strangle the Russian economy with sanctions. The Russian economy did not collapse. Russia is still fighting. They tried it with China. They tried to stop China's technological development by cutting off access to semiconductors. China's chip industry is now competing with America's, and now they are trying it with Iran. At every step, the same mistake, the same hubris, the same assumption that American power is so overwhelming that the enemy will simply give up. And at every step, the enemy does not give up. And here's the thing about hubris. Once it sets in, it is almost impossible to correct. Because the people who benefit from the system, the military contractors, the politicians they bribe, the media companies they fund, all of them have an interest in maintaining the story, in pretending everything is fine, in doubling down instead of changing course. This is what I mean when I say the empire is already dead. The death is not the moment Iran shoots down an F-35. The death is not the moment oil hits $200 a barrel. The death is the moment when the three pillars, military, dollar, story, all start failing at the same time, and nobody inside the system can say it out loud, because the system punishes anyone who says it. Think about it. When was the last time you heard a major American politician say, "We are losing this war"? When was the last time a mainstream American media company said, "The petrodollar system is in serious trouble"? It does not happen, because if you say it, you are called a traitor. You are called pro-Iran. You are called anti-American. But the facts do not care what you call them. Now, I want to give you the big picture, because understanding why the empire is dead is only half the story. The more important question is, what comes next? And here I want to use the framework I have talked about before. Remember the structure of the world as I described it. At the core is the empire, the muscle. Around that is finance, the game masters, then the global economy. Then the multilateral organizations that give it all a veneer of legitimacy. And then culture, education, media. The key insight is this. The people who run this system, the finance, the global economy, the multilateral organizations, their number one interest is not America. Their number one interest is maintaining the system. And if America can no longer provide the muscle to maintain the system, they will find someone who can. This is the pattern throughout all of history. Empires do not disappear. They get replaced. And the replacement always comes from an unexpected direction. Rome was replaced by the people who were its mercenaries. The Mongols were replaced by the people they conquered. The British were replaced, at least in the Middle East, by the Americans themselves, who started as British allies. And today, who replaces America? That is the question. And I have my own analysis of what is happening. But that is a topic for another class. What I want to leave you with today is this. The American empire is dead, not dying. Dead. The three pillars are cracking simultaneously. The military is burning through irreplaceable weapons against an enemy that makes its weapons for $50,000 each. The dollar system is under the most serious structural challenge since 1973. And the story, the idea that America is the good guy defending the rules-based order, nobody in the world believes that anymore. Not really. And yet, and this is the tragedy of empires, nobody inside the system will say it. The politicians will keep saying we are winning. The media will keep saying we are strong. The military will keep asking for more money. And the empire will keep stumbling forward, spending money it does not have, fighting wars it cannot win, in defense of a story that nobody believes, until it cannot anymore. And when that moment comes, when the empire can no longer pretend, everything changes very fast. Not slowly, not gradually, fast, because that is how empires end. Not with a long decline, with a sudden collapse that everyone then says they saw coming, but nobody said out loud. I am saying it out loud. The American empire is already dead. Okay, so that is my analysis for today.